Awesome. Welcome everyone to our Tuesday, April 15th Outreach and Network meeting. Um, as always, we start by centering the land as a way to remind us of our own indigeneity, no matter where we come from or who we are, and as a acknowledging the process of the intentionally moving towards reclaiming that for ourselves in the ways that make sense for us. So we start by, in the way of Norm Leach, we start by acknowledging the land because the land was here long before we became people. The land is who caused us to rise up and become people, and the land will be here long after we are gone. Thank goodness. Everything that we experience and sense with these miraculous things that we call bodies come from the land and will return to the land, including our bodies, ourselves. All right. Thank y'all for checking in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can see our meeting Asana page today. So last meeting, I was tasked with drafting a kind of a first experiment for using social roots, as well as updating our social media protocol in terms of, well, first of all, kind of where we're at now with social media, because we hadn't updated it in a while, but also including information about using hashtags and handles on different platforms. And I did those things. Yay. um, were there any other action items that I've forgotten about that anybody that come to mind? Okay, they're back. Okay. Nothing. Did I miss anything? Okay.
Not that I am aware of. No.
Okay. Just making sure. Updates are that those two things got done. Are there any other outreach related updates that anybody would like to share? Oh, and we got a cool testimonial from Woofer slash Farmistary guest. And I reached out to them to see if we can share it on our various channels. So that's
Oh, and
exciting.
actually, Justin, Angie, and Fee met them because they came to the farm meeting. So it was Sonia.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other updates? Awesome.
Nothing comes to mind.
So in terms of agenda, we can review the social roots protocol. It's really a proposal. It's my proposal for this, next few months trying out using social roots. I tried to keep it pretty simple, but also so that it's doing enough that it's useful to people. And then we can also review the our digital onboarding documents, which are including all of the stuff about social media and the little document I made about the hashtag stuff. Are there any other topics anyone would like to add to the agenda?
I was having trouble finding, I guess the driver statements are all on Google Docs. So it's like hard to find access to driver statements, but I would like to, like before I start a meeting, just reread the driver statement as a refresher to like kind of ground myself into what we're all about. So if we could revisit the driver statement, that would be beneficial for myself.
And
Yes,
me.
for sure. And the proposal for social routes actually kind of covers driver statements. So hopefully that will help and we can all decide if that seems good and useful.
Mhm.
Um, so I think I want to go. I don't know what what do we want to do first? Do we want to do social roots first or social media stuff first? Any strong feelings either way?
I am most interested in social roots
Okay.
and you know, kind of getting that going. And I guess I think I have another, I don't even know if this is another topic, but sort of in light of what Justin and Angie were saying, the sort of single point of reference, you know, that is like where is that one place that we can send people? And as part of the bylaws, of putting together the bylaws, I have an updated operating agreement document,
Mm.
but it's still a Google Doc. And it's, you know, it's kind of like our table of contents and it links to other things, but sort of thinking about, as we're talking about social media, a sort of, actually, I think this could even go in the quarterly review of the website that we were talking about. Just sort of like, how do we make sure that people can get access to what they need when they need? Having said that too, the other challenge that we consistently find is there's a lot of information. And so figuring out how to present it in a way that you can navigate and not be overwhelmed has consistently been a challenge. So we're constantly trying to navigate. We call it the slow drip. You know, it's like people just need a slow drip of information, but then it makes it really hard to make sure that all the drips are happening. Anyhow, that's just for kind of future, like a placeholder, really, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the way that I'm thinking about social roots is really trying to break things down into guilds, really. So well, I'll show you. I'm just going to show you. Hi, Roland. We are jumping into the proposal that I've drafted for using social roots.
Okay, I put something in chat, so keep going.
Okay. So let me click on it here. So first, I'm just going to cover the ideas, and then I actually used the outreach group on social roots as an example. So I've posted in there what my proposal is. So there are 3 parts to the proposal, or to the proposal. The first part is basically creating a guild overview for this year, as a note in your guild's subgroup. So basically taking your guild's annual proposal, which is like a multi-page document, and creating a Cliff's Notes version, which in Canada you call it something else, something else notes. I don't remember.
Yeah,
Cole's
what
notes?
is it? Cole's Notes.
Cole's Notes.
Yeah.
Whoever's notes. Creating a mini version of the proposal, just a bullet version, so that as soon as someone clicks on the guild, they're going to see this is what we're about. And then right underneath that, Cliff's Notes, linking to the guild proposal and the driver statement, which I don't know if I think each proposal links to the driver statement already. If not, linking to the driver statement. The second part is creating a note to track progress for each guild's seasonal project. So you would include the name of the project and the description pulled from Asana, and then post a comment on that note detailing the details of the project, kind of what is the process of what we're doing. And then you can post additional comments with project updates as they happen, so people can kind of follow chronologically what's going on. And then the third part of the proposal is to create another note called meeting notes, or you can choose what you want to call it, but it's basically to track every single meeting. So after a meeting, you would post a comment that has the date and time of the meeting at the top, the link to the meeting task in Asana. So if people want to see the full, if they want to use Asana, they can. If they don't, they're not going to really miss anything. a link to the meeting recording on YouTube, and then all of the things that we include in the meeting notes in Asana. So action items from previous meeting, updates, agenda and discussion, and future action items. And then inviting, just a little note at the bottom to invite feedback from people. If you weren't at the meeting, feel free to reply to this and let us know your ideas, your concerns, whatever. So that's kind of the description of the proposal. And now I'm going to show you what I wrote as an example to help it, hopefully help kind of see it in action, and will make more sense. I think this is it. Okay, so this is the Outreach and Network dashboard. We already have the description here that that Ben put together. And so recent notes, you can see the 3 notes that I put here. The first one, and they list their chronological, so the most recent note is at the top. So I'm going to go to the bottom note first, which is the overview for this year. And I put what our goals are, so kind of how this guild fits into the wider goals of the Lifeboat Academy for the year. Our proposal for kind of what's the basic idea of how we're going to do that, and then the high level action plan. And then I have a link to the full proposal. So yeah, so I didn't link the driver statement, but I think the driver statement could be linked in the overview for the guild, which yeah.
I think I did link the driver statements on the dashboard as a key document.
Oh, right. Okay, that's good to know. Oh yeah, it's right here in the key link. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, so that was the kind of the overview of what Outreach is doing for this year. So if people want to comment or ask a question, they can do that in the text box here at the bottom. And then for this specific seasonal project, I made another note. And it has the basic outline of the project. So we're converting takeaway shares from circles into testimonials that can be shared. And then the kind of main components of the project, how do we make that happen? And then I posted another reply underneath for more of the nitty gritty. So that people can kind of understand, you know, the different resources that we're using and things like that. And then again, down here in the text box is where we can post updates for how the project is going. So any major accomplishments, updates, maybe, you know, we were using grain, but then we lost access to grain, so now we're doing this. So people can kind of follow along with how it's evolving. And then lastly, I started the meeting notes note. And so in this thread, you'll find meeting notes and recordings starting in spring 2025. And I used our last outreach meeting as an example. So we have our notes on Asana, YouTube recording, action items, which put that little check mark, which is kind of cool. What the agenda was, what the action items were. And then I posted a little note, a little reply that says, feel free to post feedback about the meeting notes here in the thread. So if people do that, we'll have a thread of more ongoing discussion as necessary. So that's basically the proposal. We have these 3 pretty neat little sections that people can follow along. So yeah, any feedback, considerations, concerns, we can go around the circle, starting with you, Ben.
Well, yeah, first I like it, and actually it's funny. This seems like it might be moving towards that like single point of reference. I have a couple little detaily kinds of questions. I like the broad thinking, you know, something for notes, something for projects, and something for kind of a high level view of the year. I'm wondering, at a kind of a tactical level for the meeting notes, if we actually want to have a note for each of the meetings rather than to have one note with all of the meetings lined up. My concern would be two parts. One is that it'll just get really long, and so it'll be hard to find where you are. And the other is sort of similarly, if somebody's responding to a meeting, that's going to get buried in the flow. And you might want to respond to a meeting, I'm just worried about sort of things getting asynchronous. If somebody had a question about something, the comment will just show up when the comment is posted. So that might be one friendly amendment, to maybe do the meeting notes as separate notes. And having said that, I also recognize there is something nice about that it's in one place. Like, it's not a whole bunch of things, and it keeps everything at that 3 levels. But the same sort of thing, I think for the projects here, I'm pretty, I feel like it would be a good thing to have one for each of the current projects. And most of the guilds are only going to have 1 or 2. But I think rather than saying if this season, like, I'm thinking about research, we've got the badging and we've got the research proposal. And they're really 2 different things, and they're kind of happening at the same time. And so rather than kind of blending them together, just to have 2 notes. And but then I think that'll work really well in terms of the snapshots of, we can start with whatever we have and then add comments as we get more clarity, so you can actually just kind of read the history. So I think that'll be really cool. And actually the whole thing is feeling, I'm really liking the shape of this. So oh, and actually one last question I have, which is just putting it out as an open question: how do we want to use Asana? And I kind of like Asana for meeting notes, but we don't have to. We could actually take notes, or like have Brain or something like that do the notes. I just want to make sure that we are open to the possibility. Just because we've used a technology doesn't mean we have to keep using it the same way. So putting it out there. And over to Justin.
What I'm observing is like a category of rates of change. So it's like what I saw was like the notes are pretty good because you have like the overview of the guild, and it and what it does and its identity changes really slowly. And then you have a seasonal thing. So like every year this seasonal project changes, and then you have, the things that change quite quickly. It's the meeting notes. And another observation is just really impressed with like following the proposal, and then how we're going to use social routes, and then how that's implemented right now. It's just really impressive. I pass to Angela.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. It seems very, very professional, very laid out thoughtfully, and that it has like a clear direction in which it's going, and it's nice to see, nice to be a part of. I pass to Roland.
Yep. Thank you. And thanks, Ronnie, for putting that together. And it looks good. I was just comments. I'm not quite clear on no, I can't remember what section it is. The 3 categories. Do we go into those categories and add to it every time we need to use it? Like for the notes, we go into the notes, we put in the new date, and we add to it. So the driver statement is, for lack of, is on the dashboard, so it's sort of pinned. And I was wondering about if the overview, even though it's not as much of a sort of long-standing document, it is something that we're going to be referring back to over the season, if it would be worthwhile pinning that. And I was just thinking that because I'm not sure if we'll be adding to those, like subsequently to those three categories, because then it would get buried. But I'm still trying to figure out how this works. And the other thing I was wondering is people can ask questions in the comments, and where do those questions go? Like, how are they answered and who answers them? And how do the people who answer the questions know that there's a question to be answered? So back to you, Ronnie.
Thank you all so much for the feedback. Yeah, so I'll just kind of go in order. I had thought about having a note for each of the meetings, which might make sense. Because either way it's gonna get long. But if it's on the main page and it's the title of each meeting date, each meeting date is the title, that makes sense. And then you click on that note and then it will have its own discussion. I think that might make more sense. My brain liked there's just 3 notes. It's very tidy. I was trying to be like, keep it tidy and compact. But I think that actually over the long term would keep things tidier. Because what if somebody wants to ask a question about a meeting that happened 3 meetings ago, but we've already posted more notes, more comments, and so yeah, that makes sense to me. And then I agree about having a note for each separate project to be able to track each one. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then in terms of using Asana for notes, I agree. I don't know that we don't have to use Asana. I've gotten to where I understand how Asana works and now I really like it. So there's that aspect of familiarity, but we also know that other people find Asana kind of daunting or clunky, which I also did at the beginning. So there's that, yeah, that perennial challenge. And then I agree about, is there a way to pin the overview? Because my thought with the overview was if somebody doesn't want to read a whole Google Doc, they can just get the Cliffs Notes. And so is there a way to pin that without having to make it a separate link? Because if it's a separate link, then it has to be a document. So I could look at Social Roots again and see if there's a way to do that. And then really good questions about questions. I don't know yet. I didn't get that far with what is our process? I mean, there's perhaps each caretaker, you'll log in to post your meeting notes, and that's an opportunity to look and see if there have been any questions. Do we get notifications when someone posts a comment? I'm not sure. We haven't really tested that yet. It would be nice if so, but also if someone's email is now getting inundated with notifications, then, maybe there's a way to like adjust that.
That's actually baked into the software.
Right, the digest.
Yeah, and so anyhow, there are answers. So some of those questions you just asked, there are answers.
Okay.
If there is any comment or update on a post, then depending on how your notifications are set, you will get notification.
Okay.
And likewise, one of the things that's nice is that you can basically mute your following of any of the notes. So then you wouldn't get any notification. So you could decide that one of the notes is just nothing that you're interested in, and you mute it for yourself, and then you're out of the loop. And likewise, when you go in, you can see, I can't remember how to get there, but you can see how many people have seen it and how many people have opened it or commented on it, something like that. So if you go into Social Roots, there's actually fairly detailed information about whether or not people have looked at or interacted with the note. Sorry to jump circle back to you, Wendy.
No, that's great. That's great. And a question I have, and then I'll pass, is can you tag people in notes? So if we say caretakers of the guild, you are responsible for making sure a question is answered. You don't have to know the answer, but say, I want to tag Ben and say, hey, Ben, do you know the answer to this? Is that possible? I think that would be useful, because otherwise, if there's a question I don't know the answer to as the outreach caretaker, how do I bring that to someone else? Does that mean I go to Slack? Does that mean I go to email? Like, do we have to leave Social Roots is what I'm saying. If we can keep it all in Social Roots, I think that would be best. So yeah, that's what I have. Over to Ben.
Sorry, I'm just playing with Social Roots at the same time. Yeah, I agree. That's definitely something to check out. If we can use a handle, that would be awesome. There's also, and I think this is another good argument for keeping the meeting notes separate per meeting, is that there's the, needs a response, the little buttons at the bottom. So if we have something that we want, like oftentimes at the end of the meeting, we'll have a like, okay, so everyone needs to take a look at this and be ready for the next time. And you could actually put, needs action or whatever the button is. So that could be handy. And I was just poking around in terms of so there's a question I have as well, which is, can you archive notes? Because that also could address how cluttered that area is. If we can archive some things and we agree we only keep 6 months or a year of notes or something like that, or whatever the number is, then that would be handy. And shoot, what was the other thing? Oh well, it'll come to me. And I too actually, and it was cool the way that however you added that in, Ronnie, the check marks where things were done. And as we're talking about Asana, I do realize it's complicated, but one of the things I quite like about it is in the notes, you get an updated reference of a task, right? So if there are action items, just like when we started going over the agenda for today, we could see that you were assigned a task and it was done. And so you don't have to wonder, and you don't have to go back and update notes, it kind of stays current. So anyhow, I can't remember what, there was another kind of just a little, oh, that was it, about pinning. Because there is in the bottom right-hand corner, the current focus. And that could actually be where you have that little Cliff's Notes version with a link to the documents. So that could be an alternative to pinning it, would be actually writing that as the current focus thing, which is static. It's not like a notes where it gets added onto. It's just a section in the dashboard that you can update. Anyhow, those are all my thoughts. Over to Justin. And actually, yeah, I think that this is super cool. I'm getting excited about being able to get this set up. Sorry, over to you, Justin.
I have nothing to add, but a tangent. Speaking of Asana, would be like Asana as a badge, like being able to use Asana and teach what it is. how to use it. Pass to Angela.
I don't think I have anything else to add either. Besides, I find Asana hard to use. A couple of times that I've tried to find information on it. I haven't given myself space to figure out social roots yet. But it would, yeah, it would be nice to know where to start Asana or social roots. I pass to Roland.
So that's good to know about. I think when Ben, when you were talking, I got a better sense of how different groups that are interested in specific things or working on specific things can interact without everybody hearing about it. You know, it was what I understood, because one of the things is, especially for cross guild activities, like what I think of as the facilitator group, because facilitation is supposed to be more hard work, but there are people who enjoy doing the facilitation stuff and lead things that are not in hard work. So that means that that group then has an opportunity to do their thing through social roots together. And I was thinking, you know, I don't think social roots is so useful for or geared towards tracking tasks. Is that right?
Yeah.
So Asana could still be useful in terms of task tracking and that kind of thing. Yeah. And in terms of implementing social roots, I was wondering if it could be sort of like a stepped introduction, sort of like start using it broadly with people in a specific way, and then adding on to it over time, maybe. And that could be sort of a low effort for the membership in getting introduced to using this new thing, instead of here's this thing, figure out how to use it, let's go. But then I'm always a little leery about technology, so take that with a grain of salt. So over to Ronnie.
Yeah. So in terms of Asana, we have two digital onboarding. Actually, we have three digital onboarding documents. We have level 1, level 2, and level 3, and they go through kind of it's a text-based how-to for Asana and Slack, which Slack is mostly on the farm at this point. It's on the farm and Outreach. And I'm actually going to be we're going to be going through the onboarding documents, hopefully in this meeting if we have time. But I think a more interactive Asana how-to would be useful maybe at an outreach meeting, almost like a little mini webinar for how we use Asana. Because basically the way that I learned was sitting in meetings with Ben and Roland with Asana on a big TV screen, and kind of learning over time. We're using it together to track different projects. So it was a lot easier for me to learn when we were actively using it as a group than on my own. So I just wanted to kind of put all that out there. I find it to be really good for tracking tasks, and I use it to project manage my own personal life. So once I figured out how to use it, it really, really helps me. But there was definitely a steep learning curve. And then I think in terms of kind of this first experiment, we could set up each of the guilds you know, these various components on social routes to make sure people feel supported and like they understand kind of these different ways that we're using it. And that will help us all get more used to doing it. So I think I'm not trying to put the onus on individuals to figure it out. I think learning together as a group and being able to ask each other questions in the moment, like how I learned Asana, is really good and really good practice. Yeah. So oh, the other question I have, in addition to can we archive notes, is can we delete notes? Because if we're changing how we're going to do the meeting notes, then I will need to delete one from the outreach dashboard. And I have not yet. I tried to see if I could delete something and I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I'm hoping that we can, but I'm not sure. Yeah, we do another maybe last round of thoughts and considerations for now. Over to you, Ben.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, that sounds good. And I sometimes I feel like I am the living institutional memory, because yes, that is actually what we came to last time, is that we would do a stepped version. And what the proposal that Ronnie put together was level 1, which was just the basics. And so, you know, that's been the idea from the beginning. And I think one of the other things that's really challenging is it's the onboarding, like we were talking about the slow drip, and it's also knowing when people are ready for what comes next. And in part, like we have if you were to come and be an intern here on the farm, we've got a graduated onboarding process, but that doesn't work as well when we're just doing these online meetings. And it's also putting out there, not everyone needs to know how Asana works, because the way that it's set up now, only caretakers of guilds need to understand Asana. No one else is expected to have to follow along. It's available if you want to, but partly we update all the tasks in meetings, so you can, you can, you don't have to touch Asana if you don't want to. And we don't use Asana in any way, like no one is, we don't work in a way that depends on anyone being able to log into Asana and do stuff, except for the caretakers. And that's part of that badging idea as well, is that there are, beginning badges and intermediate badges and advanced badges. And, Asana is definitely like, it's on a need to know only basis when you get there. So I think that's it. I feel like this is, I like with the little changes that we've talked about. And I guess in terms of next steps, I feel like that we should probably capture some of these questions, like, can we archive? Can we delete? Can we tag somebody in a post? And if we can't figure it out, then we can send Christiana and Anna a message and get answers. Yeah, I feel good. I'm agreed. Over to Justin.
I'm in agreement, and I pass to Angela.
To we were going to Asana to try and review before meetings about past meetings. So I guess where would that our question would be, where would be the best place to do that? I guess if social routes, the meeting notes are getting put on there, that would be good, that we could just go and see. We've been using YouTube and rewatching meetings. So I guess is that's probably like the best place to start. Um, Other than that, I don't have anything to add. I pass to Rowan.
I'm agreed, and I was thinking along the same lines as Ben that one of the benefits of doing the beta version is that we get not only to ask questions, but we get to ask if they would consider adding something. And so I think it's an interesting question of, is it just deleting or is it also archiving? Or, what would be the best way of dealing with older notes that would be most useful for us? So back to Ronnie.
Yeah, this is all really great. In terms of these kind of functionality questions, Ben, do you want to play around and see if you can figure these things out? Okay, cool. I will try to set up the Outreach Guild page to match the changes that we have talked about. And then that can be a reference point for people to set up their guild pages to match. I also am available with that with any questions or concerns. So caretakers are tasked with setting those up. Is there any other additional support that we want to talk about now? Like, are people okay with doing that asynchronously, or do we want to set a time to do that together? Ben has a thought.
Yeah, I was just thinking kind of in terms of the rollout, because it's caretakers set it up, but then just like you were saying, Ronnie, we should probably in each of the guilds bring everybody to the social roots page and to the dashboard and say, hey, so click here and this is where the meeting notes are. Right, so it's caretakers set it up, but then make sure that all of the participants get a chance to actually see the board and interact with it.
Any other considerations or concerns about these action items and the kind of development of social roots? Awesome. Sweet. Okay, so now I want to go over the onboarding level 1 and level 2. I didn't even remember that there was level 3 until this meeting, so I haven't looked at level 3, so I'm not really sure what it says. But for now, I've updated level 1 and level 2, and I actually have those documents open. I just want to make sure where they are. Okay, they're on Google Chrome. Okay. So let me share my screen again. Okay, so this is digital onboarding level 1. And right here at the top, I've added a section about how we use social roots, because I'm imagining that this will be kind of the go-to place, especially for new people to learn about what we're doing and start to follow along. This is a really, really high level description, so it's not digital onboarding level 1 is meant to be pretty high level. So it's in level 2 kind of gets more into the nitty gritty. But yeah, just talking about how people can use social roots to stay up to date with the activities of all the guilds. They can choose how much or how little information they want to receive. Long term, we're hoping social roots will be a way that we can visualize the lifeboat network and people can connect with one another around shared interests, shared needs and questions. And if people aren't yet a member of the community, they can reach out to Ben or me and ask for an invite. There's a section about Slack. I haven't edited this at all. Again, Slack is mostly on the farm people plus me at this point who are using it. So there's all of that. And then I updated how we're using social media. So we're putting a newsletter out around once a month, and posting our upcoming events on the events page on the website. So that stays updated. We haven't been posting about the ongoing events on social media as much. I'm not really sure when we stopped doing that. I think it was me that stopped doing that. I was relying more on the newsletter and the events page, as well as emails to guild members. You know, they're always emailed reminders about meetings. But we have posted about, you know, every special event series, like Connect the Dots, for example, we've been posting on social media. Talked about the regular memes that get posted, and with relevant hashtags, and I'll go more into hashtags on level 2. And I also mentioned that we're now posting text-based testimonials from people. The how we use YouTube hasn't really changed, so I left that alone. In terms of being a helper, so if we're using the model, we have helpers, apprentices, and caretakers. Master, do we have masters? Is that one of them? We don't use it, so I don't. Okay.
We've kind of slipped into beginner, medium, and advanced. Or
Yeah. So
the
helper.
master has that, you know, it was nice about the kind of being a master of skills, but the whole master versus slave thing has just left
Yeah.
everyone like not in love with it.
Yeah, for sure. I updated our social media accounts, so I added Blue Sky and Mastodon here so people can click the links to access the accounts. I added our Lifeboat Builder hashtag, so asking people to use that in their posts. And we still have a link to our social media content folder if people want to add any photos and videos. I don't think many people outside of the core team ever really took us up on that, but it's there. So, and then there's the newsletter. I mentioned the shareable Google Calendar. Oh, I need to add, let me just make a comment really quick. Our website events page is a really great way to know what's happening. And then if people want to go deeper, they can go to onboarding level 2. Before I do that, any questions, thoughts, concerns about onboarding level 1?
Just a minor one about you. I don't know if we want to start noting next to the meta products, you know, soon to be abandoned or something like that.
I did in one place say, oh yeah, here, we are in the process of transitioning away.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so onboarding level 2, we start with how do we create social media content? I linked that shared folder, or it was already there, that shared folder where we have mainly photos and videos, but anybody could, and quotes. Roland has very amazing long document of notes that he quotes he compiles for the memes. So people can add whatever they'd like to that. And then talking about, we encourage lifeboat builders and pharmacery guests to share their own experiences via social media. Again, using our lifeboat builder hashtag, and you can also tag our handle if you'd like to mention us directly on various platforms. And I meant to put the document. I made a document and I haven't put it in yet, but I will make a note to do that. And then Facebook and Instagram, I have another note. We're transitioning away. And then I added 2 little descriptions for Blue Sky and Mastodon. They are microblogging platforms based on Twitter, essentially. TikTok, I put a note that it's not currently in use. If people want to take on making content for TikTok, they're welcome to do that, and we can share the login info for that. And then there's the section about the help desk, which we're also haven't been updating recently, but there is a wealth of information on the help desk, lots of documents that really are comprehensive explanations of what we're doing. So the prospectus, the Prezi presentation, Justin and Angie, if y'all haven't seen those yet, especially the prospectus, I don't know. Well, I don't know if Ben would agree, but I still think the prospectus is really impressive and comprehensive. And we spent quite a lot of effort on it. And then, so hopefully social root kind of take on some of what we were hoping the help desk would be doing. So having kind of those key links and people being able to ask questions and follow along with what's happening. We have a section here about what we post on social media. So the daily memes that Roland has been doing, ongoing, like special events, not ongoing, special events like the Connect the Dots Club, the Design Charrette. We always do like a social media campaign. And then letting people know if you want to start taking some of that on, you can ask us for the password and everything. I'm just seeing what, okay, great. The help desk is in the chat. Awesome. Okay, so then I made a little document for hashtags and @ how to, just describing the difference between the two and how they're used. And I made an example. So, and using the Lifeboat Builder hashtag as an example. So if you click on the hashtag, you'll see all of the posts from all the different people who hopefully will be using the hashtag to chronicle their experiences building resilience. And then if you want to specifically mention us, the Lifeboat Academy, like I stayed at the Pharmastery at Lifeboat Academy, then that will direct people to our accounts specifically. And then I listed each of our handles for the various social media platforms. And then just to finish out this level 2 doc, we have the apprentice tasks, which we're making memes ahead of time to post throughout the week. Currently, Roland is making the memes, but other people are welcome to do that as well as scheduling posts. Again, we haven't been doing that as much lately. We could do more of that. I think there's always this ongoing conversation about what are we posting and how often and who's doing it. If you want to work on the newsletter, I'm the person who puts the newsletter together once a month. It really doesn't, it takes me like half an hour, and then I run it by Ben and Roland to make sure it's good to go, and I send it out. If other people wanted to do that, that's awesome, and I could kind of walk you through that process. And then here's a section about Asana. So kind of a bit about, wow, this still says High Grove Farm. Throwback. And so then the most important projects are linked here, so you can see kind of the high level, what you need to know if you're using Asana, kind of where things are located. There's a note saying you're not required to use it. And then we have our Google Drive here. We have 2 different kind of table of contents that walk you through kind of where everything is in the Google Drive, what the documents are, where they're located, etc. And then
that should get updated, because I think those have been combined now into
yeah,
our
that's what I was
current
wondering.
Yeah, now it's current operating agreements.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm not even up to date with that. This is good. This is useful. And then digital onboarding level 3. I'm not going to click on it yet because this was there was quite a lot in this document, and I know it was a lot of information. So are there any questions, concerns, anything that you would like clarified? Over to you, Ben.
I just put the link to the operating agreements in the chat. I feel like I think everything looks good, and this is one of those, it's always a work in progress. And I was just thinking about the as a best practice when we onboard anyone through these documents, we should actually be doing it at the computer with a keyboard so that we can go, oh, hey, hang on, that's not right anymore. Let me change that. Click, click, click. Because I think that it really takes, that kind of walking through, this is how we do things. And we're always changing how we do things. So, and that's the concomitant challenge of treating everything as an experiment is that you learn lots, and that means we're constantly changing things. But I think these documents it's still a really good base. And I think these are good changes. And probably there are some other things to catch in there. And the next time we use them to onboard someone, there'll be changes and how it's good to come back to them. Over to Justin.
Yeah, I think Angela and I would love to interact with these documents and be guinea pigs if you hadn't already had a bunch. But just to go through and click on links and interact with everything, and yeah, just keep noodling, as they say in the hood. I'll pass to Ange.
Yes, ditto. I again thoroughly impressed with like all the work that you've done, Ronnie. This is amazing. I pass to Roland.
Going through this, I was just thinking about badging, because there are several times when we say if you're interested in that and if you're interested in doing this, and I was thinking, oh, so how do we introduce people to it? And then I realized, well, of course, we've got the badging system that we've been talking about. So I think that we can take a lot of these sections and then figure out what kind of what how to integrate them into the badging system. And actually, that might be something that we want to start thinking about, chatting about during these meetings. Is the outreach badges? What are they? I don't think we've done that, have we? Anyway, well, over to Ronnie, who will likely know.
I mean, we haven't recently talked about it because Roland and I have been pretty much covering the social media newsletter, kind of all of those regular tasks, the chores of the guild. And we just haven't had a ton of engagement from other people in the guild in terms of people who are like actually wanting to learn and take things on. So it's great that y'all are interested, and it's a really good opportunity for us to, we can set up an onboarding time and walk you through these documents and the links, and y'all can earn your badges for this, the social media stuff. And that will also really help us to know what our process is and how it's evolving. I'm also curious about, in terms of the Research and Learning Guild, where are the badges living? Are they living somewhere? Is there to have a master list with links so that the Outreach Guild could go in and be like, okay, you want to learn this badge, we'll click on it, and then there's the doc, right? So it seems like we're kind of coming to, things are starting to kind of meld and make more sense now that there are people who want to do things, which is the whole point of the badges. So that's great. yeah, I'm really grateful and glad that all of these things are getting updated because it's time. Um, so this is all a very good thing. I just wanted to, I think digital onboarding level 3 is not as long. I just want to take a peek at it while we're here. Over to Ben.
I took a peek earlier, and it's primarily about the newsletter, the calendar, and the
Okay.
Asana. I think even the Asana stuff, it kind of says go over there where we have in the nitty-gritty document.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
nitty-gritty document. Yep.
so, but yeah, it's the high level. So, and we did, it's kind of one of those, oh, we were clever about that, because level 1, level 2, level 3 was basically helper, apprentice, master, like the beginning, intermediate, and advanced. And so, it was really you start here. And I just want to say for the record to Justin and Angela that we from the beginning have assumed that all of our onboarding would be person to person, and that no one would just hand you the documents and say, read this. If you want to do that, that's great, but we wanted it to be interactive. And it's more or less a script for somebody to kind of like, for somebody who knows what they're talking about to go through and say, oh, right. And there's this, and oh, right, we changed that. So you're more than welcome to explore it, and I'm curious how it stands on its own. But just know that we never intended to throw anyone a manual and say, read this.
And this document hasn't been updated in at least 3 years. So it all says High Grove, everything. So this is good. Sorry, over to Justin, Angie, and Fee.
I'm not sure what the prompt was. I lost track. It's just more reflections.
I think we're kind of at any last details to wrap up before we say this is good.
Yeah, as always, like this is, I don't know, the word impressive just keeps coming to mind. It's nice, and I want to noodle around with all the links and everything. And like I was thinking earlier about how much information there is to share, and thinking about like Wikipedia and the systems view of life textbook, that kind of, as it's going through information, it's like, oh, see this chapter in this page. And there's always links to other things. So it's like a web or a network of information rather than a linear front to back reading. Like there's always links where you can just jump and follow your curiosities to wherever they lead. Yeah, and about like the badge stuff and the learning, again, I'm impressed because I'm vexed, thoroughly vexed by the YouTube do it yourself learn that has zero connection to another. It seems like zero connection to another human being. Obviously there's someone teaching you, but there's no, I don't know, it's just something very important is missing. Pass to Ange.
Yeah, the point of y'all never wanting to just hand over a bunch of documents and like give somebody something to fend for themselves thing is great, because that it takes the pressure off, and it's more inviting, and more accessible to me. Yes, so I love that that was a principle that you guys wanted to live out. I pass to Rowan.
Pastor Ronnie.
So I will update the digital onboarding level 3 so that it says Lifeboat Academy. And then in terms of onboarding, I can send an email to y'all, Justin, Angie, and Fee, and I'll ask, or you could email us. I'm not sure how to do this, but just figure out a time when we can get together. And Ben, I'd love for you to be there with me to help onboard them, just for so I can get some more practice because it's been a long time. If you're okay with that, but yeah, what do you think is the best way for us all to find a time?
Oh, I don't see earlier comment race scheduling.
I know.
I think the easiest, if we know how long we want, how long, do we want to take an hour? Is that enough, too much? Then I can just send out a calendar invite. And actually, you know what? Oh, I don't know, because we've got to coordinate your schedule and my schedule and their schedule. So just put together a little meeting poll.
Or when to meet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Justin and Angela?
Our schedule's pretty open. So yeah, we can conform to your schedules.
Well, why don't we do that then, Ronnie? I'll just you can use my link, my Calendly, and I'll send you the one for the hour, and then we'll find a spot that works for you and I, and then actually maybe find 2 or 3, and then we can just send them to the gang, to our nesters.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Start calling you the nesters. That becomes your new
Love it.
family your new family name.
Yeah.
Justin
Looking-
Nestor, Angie Nestor, little Fee Nestor.
We were looking for a new surname, so that works. Yeah, we filled out almost every when to meet, noon to evening open.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. All right. Covered quite a lot today. Thanks everyone for hanging in for a lot of information and considerations. Anything else before we depart?
I
Okay.
feel complete.
Thanks everyone for being here and take care, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone.